Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. Now one thing that's coming back a few times on my EVE Talks is if I can put annotations in the description on where I cover at least what category of goods. This will take a little bit of time, so I'm not going to be able to do that for this EVE Talk, maybe not even for the next one. But it's something I'm thinking about doing. I just need to try and find a system that doesn't cost me too much time to actually implement this. So we'll see. I need to change some stuff up as well in the way I record it, so that I have like a list of all the necessary times, and I can do this pretty quickly then in the description of the video or something like that. So I'm thinking about how I can implement this so that it doesn't increase the workload too much, yeah, I am working on that a little bit. Anyways, we are here for the market, so let's get started with the usual minerals, and let's see at titanium. And that's unfortunately a really bad chart. Current prices in station though 483 for sellers, 480 for buyers. So it's up a few cents from last week, but it's pretty much flat from 2 weeks ago, which I think was the general trend for quite a bit by now. Pyrite is next, 1186 for the sellers. I think that's pretty much flat once again. It's maybe up a little bit, that's interesting. You can see the price take off just a little bit, heading towards 12 ISK. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, Pyrite not as flat as I thought. Actually, a small uptrend here. We'll have to wait and see if this can be sustained, or if it's like the one we see right here just before October, which was actually a false uptrend, and basically the Pyrite has been moving flat for quite a bit now, for at least 2 months. So I don't know, too early to tell, but interestingly enough, Pyrite up a little bit. Let's see what Mexalon's been doing then. At least Mexalon is going up, as you can see right here, from a bottom of close to 35 ISK. It's actually breaking 40 and seems to be a little bit more sustained in its uptrend, because even the 20-day moving average is showing some upwards movement. Let's have a look at prices in the station. Oh, very nice. Almost 43 ISK for Mexalon. If you remember, I actually invested 200 million in Mexalon, bought it at 40.5 ISK, so it's actually up a little bit. That is very interesting, I think. Next up, let's see if Isogen. Isogen is flat, unfortunately. So that one does not confirm a general trend in minerals just yet, but I would say for the low-end ones, for the high-sec miners amongst us, this is tentatively interesting, because Mexalon seems to be sustaining its uptrend. Pyrite seems to want to follow suit. Unfortunately, titanium and Isogen are still flat. So, well, it's a little bit of a wait and see, but it might just be the trend break we have all been waiting for. At least miners have been waiting for. Then let's touch on excuse me, Megasite. Well, it broke 1600, but it's done that for at least a few weeks now, and I do see a data point a little bit higher, so it's again too early to say, but yeah, 1598, closer to 1600 already in JITA prices. So if the chart actually catches up, this should go up a little bit. Let's have a look if Noxian, which has been going down quite a lot, has been able to break its trend. Well, at least it's flat now at the 660 mark. Let's have a quick look at the 1-year chart. You can clearly see here the very sustained downtrend since Odyssey. And it does look like there is finally a stop to that right here, just as it broke 660. Now it's just above that, and starting to move sideways for at least a few days or even a few weeks now, almost 2 weeks I would say. So that's interesting, because Noxian, we've seen it go down so consistently in the last few months, that this could again indicate maybe there's finally a break in this trend coming. Let's have a look at Xyron then. Also trying. You can, I think, clearly see a data point much higher than where the 20-day moving average is sitting. Let's have a quick look here. 600 ISK would be a price to watch out for. 590, so it's not there yet, but it doesn't look like it's dropping anymore either. And again here you can see after Odyssey the decline in the price of Xyron here as well, which seems to maybe it stopped. So pretty interesting. A lot of the minerals are moving sideways, even the very high-end ones, the minerals like Xyron and Megasite are showing a bottom formation. And then we have Mexalon and Pyrite breaking the trend with at least a visible upward movement in the last week on the chart. I think this is pretty interesting. If this can be sustained for a little bit, if we can see something like a winter war or more demand due to the new stuff that's coming out with Rubicon, this might just be a break in the trend, and mining might just become a little bit more profitable to do. Because at the moment you're not getting a lot of ISK for every hour you mine, whether it's in HiSec or in nullsec or anything else. So yeah, let's hope it's a trend break, and it would also be an indication of more activity in EVE Online. Now let's have a look then if this already impacts the Tech 1 chips. Let's see here, the Drake, well, still below 42 million, so that's not too good. 41.5 pretty much for a Drake, so that's still very low. Lowest point for the year actually, except maybe here a quick exception right here. Look at that downtrend here. I would put that early September, something like that. But yeah, still very low, and no real sign that it's changing. Maelstrom though, moving back up to 190. Look at that, pretty nice. You could have picked some up at least 165, and now we're looking at Maelstroms for 190. Pretty big jump. This might be nullsec alliances preparing for war, because that's a really big movement to be a trend movement. This is more like someone buying them all up, or really a big organization deciding that the Maelstrom is worth more and really pumping up the market in short order. But it's back pretty much on towards a more normal price of around 200 million for a Maelstrom, which has been throughout the entirety of time before Odyssey actually. As you can see on the 1 year chart, I just started off picking up. Yeah, actually this is, now that I look at this, pretty interesting as well. You can see a mirror movement from last year where the Maelstrom went from just below 200 million up to 220, and this might look like this uptrend is materializing here as well. That's actually pretty interesting. Let's see if the rock shows something similar. You can see this uptrend last year as well, and it's starting here again as well. Of course on a much lower price point than what we've seen last year, but yes, this 1 year recurrence of the activity in the market does seem to translate to the Tech 1 chips as well at the moment. Let's have a quick look here at the Omen. That one's, well, you can see a little bit of an uptrend here as well, and you can see the uptrend that started last year as well. So yeah, might just start to go higher. This is pretty interesting. The Talos might be an exception because it's a newer ship, but you can still see higher prices last year, and here we're unfortunately still flat at around 65. So what I will do is have a quick look at Tritanium as a bad chart, but maybe Pyrite. Again here, this is the 1 year chart, and decently interesting. You can see that last year at this point we also had a pretty sustained uptrend towards, well, would this be March actually for Pyrite. So if this rematerializes this year, it would be around this time that we would start seeing higher prices for minerals. Mexalon started out extremely high though, so that one knew its uptrend before this, starting out at 60 ISK, dropping to 35, and now seemingly back on the uptrend. So it's pretty interesting, I think. Definitely the Tech 1 ships, the Tech 1 battleships show that we might just be at the start of an uptrend, because they've already calculated these movements. Certainly on the Maelstrom here, that's a really big jump, and then on the Rock as well, that's a jump of a good 10 million. So this might just be anticipation for higher mineral prices right now. I think it's a possible theory. Pretty interesting. And I think whenever I touched on it during the summer in my EVE talks, I said if you're mining, I would stockpile my stuff, and I think that would have been the right move. And right now, in the upcoming weeks and months, I think you'll be able to find a good opportunity for selling minerals if that's what you're doing. Pretty interesting stuff, actually. It's really the first time that I thought of comparing it to the early part of the chart to see what it did last year, and this could actually indicate a bottom and a start to an uptrend in minerals and Tech 1 ships. Pretty good stuff. Tech 2 ships next. I'll quickly have a look at this. Absolution, very nice uptrend right there, if you or very nice spike, I should say, because these are the ships I look for to trade, actively trading. Look at that, you could have bought them well below 200 million, and here we go, 233 million ISK is the lowest sell order. That's quite a lot. Buy orders actually jumped to 218 as well. So this has definitely changed, and those are really nice big spikes that I like to see for active trading. So obviously Absolution, I've said for a long time, don't touch it because it looked so flat. Apparently I was actually wrong. This would have been a good buying opportunity, because you would have made 30 million on every Absolution in a matter of maybe 2 weeks or something like that. It's a bit risky, granted, but I think it does clearly show the opportunities in these Tech 2 markets and in these command ships at the moment. Astarte, it's working on a spike. I think you can see it had 3 pretty damn recently, and here we had actually a price at, I would say, what would that be, 230? No, 250 or something like that. Let's have a look at current Astarte price. Yeah, 255, 256. So it's up a little bit, but you can see here some sell orders at 336, which are probably the ones that didn't unload during the last spikes here. 336 exactly. Those didn't unload during the last spikes, so there's like a top end right here. But there's a lot of active trading and opportunities in ships like that. Pretty interesting. Claymore next. That one unfortunately is a little bit too flat. If you can wait out for like medium to longer term, maybe you get an opportunity like the Absolution, which hasn't really known a spike since, what would this be, mid-June or something like that. So for quite a few months, but you had huge buying opportunities, and right now you would have made 30 million on every Absolution you bought there. So pretty interesting to see that spike materialize here. Personally, the Claymore, you know, it's looking too flat, but the Absolution did show you never know when a spike like that is going to materialize. Probably because Nullsec Alliance decided it's time to have another batch of command ships in their stations. Next up, the Damnation, also pretty flat. Unfortunately, this one is moving on a slow uptrend. So if you want to buy them, I'd say do it now. Don't wait too long, because we're a little bit past the lowest point. What's the Claymore doing? Pretty flat. So yeah, again, if you're prepared to pick them up for 220 and wait for a spike for 240, this is probably the time to do it. Yeah, exactly, there, 220. The Damnation as well, but they're pretty still charts compared to the Astarte, so I cannot guarantee how quickly you'll find your sell opportunity. Next up, the EOS. That one is working on higher and higher points over the entire year, because it's becoming an awesome drone boat. As you can see, not a lot of sell orders, 340 million ISK even for EOSs at the moment. This is really something, if you want one, you'll have to buy it at a very high price. But speculation in this is very dangerous because of how small the market is. The Guardian, look at that huge, nice big spike here. That's very nice. It's been so flat in the logistics cruisers over the last year that it's very nice to see this active trading, these opportunities come back. This is a sell opportunity, of course. If you could have bought them below 130, which you could have just a few weeks ago, you're currently looking at sell price of 153 for Guardians. Awesome stuff. If you bought them, you know, I've put them in the spotlights over the last few weeks because they were starting to move a bit more. You could have made a lot of money with the Guardians if you could have spotted that correct sell opportunity at 130. Pretty interesting that this is back for the logistics as well. Nighthawk. Well, it's again moving on pretty much a 20 million ISK movement, which is not bad, you know, for one chip. 10% of the price, something like that. That's not bad on a few weeks. But in general, this chart is not as spiky as the other ones. So it's a possibility, but just not the ones I would prefer at the moment. Sleepnear is well, pretty interesting, I think. Again, if I go to the 3-month chart, you can see dip below 220 right there on a pretty sustained downtrend, and here we have data points much higher. So I think that buy opportunity is actually gone for the Sleepnears. Yep, 234 for a Sleepnear. Look at that. That's almost an overnight jump of 14 to 15 million ISK on every Sleepnear. There's definitely opportunity in this market. Like I said, something like the Sleepnear though doesn't do it regularly enough for me to really decide I want to invest in that. I can see 1, 2, 3 spikes, so you're probably looking at something close to 3 to 4 months before real opportunities show itself. But right here we just had one all of a sudden. Vulture also on an uptrend. Look at that, all of these command chips are on an uptrend for some reason. And again, this has been an opportunity, you know, I've been showing them quite a lot. I've never really said to invest in the Vulture, but again, if you could have bought them close to 200, you're looking at 235, 237 even for Vultures at the moment. So it's a pretty damn interesting market, this Tech 2 ship market. And I think, yeah, there have been decent opportunities in the Astartes. I've also shown the Guardian that's just been a really awesome opportunity below 130 up to 150. That's 20 million on a 150 ship, 130 to 150 ship. That's a really big profit for the investment. So yeah, I think this was a very good idea of me to keep trying to show that in the Tech 2 market, it's a trader's market. Here is where you can make money on the short term or on the medium term, whereas something like a Plex or minerals or Tech 1 chips is just generally more sustained and longer movements where you're really in it for the long haul. So yeah, pretty damn good, I think. We'll touch on the Tech 3s next. Legion making a little bit of a comeback. Let's see if the Loki. Ooh, Loki pretty nice as well. Look at that. That one was extremely low, close to 150. Now coming back towards 170. That's not bad. Let's have a quick look at the price for the Legion as well. 163. Low points, definitely a lot below 160. Proteus probably working on pretty high prices for Proteuses. Coming from 150 heading towards 184, not bad. And then the Tengu, 174. Ooh, look at that. That's a really big spike. And this is of course the announced change in EVE Online Rubicon, that it will finally be possible to switch subsystems in space. You no longer need to be in a station or an outpost for that. You'll be able to do that from the new deployable depot, from your boss, or even from an Orca or another ship with fitting services. And so obviously this means that the versatility which the Tech 3 ships is known for due to their subsystems finds a lot more use for individual players, and thus demand is just spiking. People are expecting I think Tech 3 ships to be used a lot for solo nullsec stuff, because basically if you can manage the cargo space well enough, you can have let's see, a bubble immune Tech 3 ship, maybe even one that can use Covered Up's cloak, so a cloaked warping. Then you get to a nice empty system. You want to do some ratting, just switch out to a powerful PvE fit. If you want to do exploration, just fit your code breakers in there, or their analyzers now after Odyssey. And then you can do whatever you want. So it's an awesome change for solo use of Tech 3 ships, who have been receiving a real beating since Odyssey, with a lot of other ships basically taking what specialities the Tech 3 ships had, and all the buffing of the cruisers and the battle cruisers meant that they really became out of style. But with this change, they really become the most versatile ship. Even for a solo player, he'll be able to use them in many different ways without needing to be docked up on a station to actually do this. So you might just be able to organize a trip to nullsec on your own with a depot in your cargo space and all the necessary subsystems, and then you'll be able to go through bubbles, warp while cloaked, do pretty difficult sites, and do exploration in nullsec, potentially yielding you a lot of profit. Grab all of that in your depot, maybe leave that one until you find something like a wormhole to highsec or something like that. Then just grab all your stuff, move it out. The versatility of the Tech 3 ships will be greatly increased with the ability to refit in space, and it's awesome for them, of course. Look, yeah, your buying opportunity, it's been there for quite a few weeks. You potentially made a lot of money. It did come out of the blue, to be honest. I didn't see this coming. But I'm actually pretty happy with this, because I do see a lot of potential for this, for smaller gangs and solo players to actually do more stuff with these Tech 3 ships than what they can do at the moment. Awesome stuff. Let's see if the melted nanoribbons managed to follow suit then. At least they did, which is very good news, because I invested in melted nanoribbons, I think at 4.7 million or something like that. I don't fully remember, but yeah, all 4.9 million, close to 5 million for melted nanoribbons. The volatility in this market, in the melted nanoribbons market, is starting to show up again. This could of course be due to the Tech 3 changes, but I think that together with the general trend we're seeing now with the winter expansion, you generally get more activity, more demand for all of this stuff, that an investment in the melted nanoribbons was a good idea, because I do expect this to actually go up further, and probably it will, in my opinion, manage to reach 5.5 million, which I would say is pretty much the average for this chart, maybe 5.4, something like that, which will mean a good sell opportunity for me, having bought it well below 5 million. So yeah, I think this big movement here is due to the Tech 3 changes, but I think considering how the minerals are starting to move as well, and the Tech 1 battleships, we could just see a sustained movement if Rubicon becomes successful, which I think with very good news like the Tech 3 changes, the Poco warfare and stuff like that, it could actually bring some people back to the game and mean a lot of activity. So I think it's looking pretty good for this investment. It's still too early to sell, probably too late to buy as well at 5 million. But I did make my investment, so we'll have to wait and see a little bit, but I think it's looking quite nice. So that's it for the Tech 3 stuff. I'll quickly touch on the fuel blocks. I suspect these are flat. Once again, yeah, 14 to 15k for Amar. Caldari trending up, but here at 17k now it's starting to slow down, I think. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, there you go, 16.8, so it's actually going to start recovering here a little bit. It might just be that Caldari fuel blocks are a little bit more expensive because of the Goon interdictions, but overall I don't think this is due to any real changes or any real stuff that's happening. This is just manipulation of the market that's caused this higher price here. Galente flat around 15k and Minmatar flat around 14k. So yeah, except for some speculative spikes, fuels are pretty much flat. Quick look at the Marauders. Oh, interesting. Golem spiking to 1.2. Is that correct? Yeah, 1168. That's quite a bit higher than what it was before all of these announcements. That's almost 200 million more, I think. 1168. No, even 270 million more than what it was before. That's actually a substantial rise here. Let's have a look at the Chronos. The Chronos, unfortunately, is going back down, heading towards 978. So that's pretty much in line with maybe 50 million, something like that, more than what it was before the announcement. So interesting. Paladin also looking at below, yeah, just 920 million, so not a lot of movement here. And then the Varger, what's that one looking like? Also well below 1 billion. So interesting that the Golem is moving out of sync like that. Look at this. Maybe just that's gonna look the best, or it's been announced somewhere, or you saw some pictures of it or something like that. But that's definitely a trend break compared to the other Marauders. Quick touch of R64, Dysprosium. Finally starting to move a little bit more flatly below 50k, but definitely at a high for the year. Neodymium new a nice spike up here, but also starting to move sideways. Prometheum pretty much the same. You can see the 5-day moving average starting to cross the 20-day moving average line, and it's all starting to flattening out. And then Thulium pretty much the same here again as well. So yeah, they've been rising a little bit in the last few weeks, but it seems that that's finally stabilizing. I guess people are starting to get used to the idea of a siphon unit on their moons. And yeah, there you go. That's it for all the general topics that I do. Let's end up as always with the Plex, which after the big spike to 620 has now recovered to current price 604 million, actually back up from last week by something like 20 million, so not bad. But we are going to have to wait and see what the new consensus price is, where I do expect Plexus to start moving more sideways, like it did last year. Right here you can see for at least close to January we had a sideways movement around, I would say, 590. Considering where we are now, maybe a 600 million average for the next few weeks is a possibility. And then after that, after next year, when people start to have digested the winter expansion and start to take it a little bit more easy in EVE Online, this will probably start to drop again, with hopefully again a buy opportunity around April. That would be pretty good. But yeah, breaking 600 million again, that was a little bit unexpected, coming from 584 or something like that last week. So I do think that the price where it will hover around could be 600 million for the next few weeks. The two big spikes did materialize. Right here you can see spike to 600, spike to 620, with data points probably 630 or above that. Pretty interesting stuff. Then that big correction, and right now sideways movement could be around 600 million, I think. So it will be an interesting information to see how high Plex can maintain itself, because I do think that's a barometer of how well EVE Online Rubicon is doing. So if we look at it from that perspective, it also means that we might just be at a bit of higher activity than last year, where we start the winter expansion. Here you can see 580, here 600. So that might just be either more players, or we've had some inflation in the amount of ISK in the game over the last year. That's a possibility as well, of course. But yeah, that's my expectation. It will start to move sideways around 600 million and then slowly start to come back down after the initial burst of activity with the winter expansion will be done. Anyways, that's it for this EVE Talk, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.